Hi guys, it's Pete from MyJewelryBench.com. Today I want to talk to you about my 4 weeks of wearing this watch consistently after doing a full service to the movement and going through it. If you remember correctly, and I will put a link up of just so you can go back and look, this watch, I made a couple watches, one for me, several for a customer. I'm using parts from eBay, both movements, dials, hands, cases, and bands, all from China, and I wanted to see how well they worked. Customer really wanted me to make him what he wanted, and this is my review of that. So let's get started. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about what I've been going through with this watch. I've been wearing this watch every single day for the last 4 weeks since I did a teardown and full service on the movement. This is a DG3804 movement, and I got the case, the movement, the hands, and the dial all from eBay. The case actually came with the band, which is a very nice band. A couple of things with the band I'll go over first. The band is a slip band, so if you pull this up and out, you can adjust the position of it, and it does lock in position a little bit, but it slips on occasion, so it doesn't hold perfectly well. So just be aware of that if you're going to grab one of these. The clasp itself does hold up very well and does lock just like it should be. There is some scratching on the band just from where I'm working on my bench, and that's going to be expected with any stainless steel band, even with higher end watches. The band itself, though, the links do hold up really well, and they've taken a good amount of beating and abuse. There are some nicks and scratches in the case, but other than that, pretty much normal wear and tear. I can polish these out, so that's not a problem, and I will probably do that very soon. This side of the case, the crown, is actually holding up really well. There are a few scratches on it, but nothing major, and actually can't see them with the naked eye. They do show up better on the camera. The bezel itself is holding up well. It's taken some abuse. I've been working on my motorcycles, so I don't take this off. I wear it every day, as I would expect most of you would. But I do have a couple of scratches on the bezel. Nothing major. These bezels are pretty cheap, and you can get them relatively easy on eBay. The movement itself, if you remember correctly, I did a full service, a full teardown, because I was having some issues with the watch. It would stop occasionally, not on my hand, but like if I put it down, I come back an hour later, the watch would stop. I thought maybe it was an issue with the hands, so just to make sure, I wanted to do a complete teardown anyway, and I did the teardown, full service, and re-lubrication of the movement. I will put a link above in the upper right corner for that. I'm pretty pleased with it. It's held up good. It's holding up decently to water resistance. I do swim with this. I try to swim a couple times a week. And again, I do work on my own motorcycles, and I keep those up and running. My wife has one, I have a couple, so we tend to do our own maintenance. Some of the issues I've had with this have been, like I said, when I first got it, it was supposed to come in serviced from China, and it wasn't keeping good time. I did want to run it for a few weeks without actually doing the service myself, just to see how well they worked. And I was a little disappointed in that. So something you need to know if you're going to order these watches and assemble them yourself, you could run into some areas of complications with the watches not working properly. The dial fitness of this watch was pretty good. There's a little sloppiness. It kind of reminds me of some antique pocket watches that were made in the mid 1800s. Especially a lot of the Swiss watches, where there was some sloppiness in play amongst the dial feet and the case itself, or the movement itself. I made some adjustments to the dial feet, and I also used a different set of screws when I rebuilt this, so I was a little pleased with how well those are holding up. Setting the watch is just like any other watch. You unscrew the crown, pull it out to the first click, and that is your date change. And you'll notice it doesn't really click into place. Although I've tried making some changes to the click springs, it really doesn't do much in lieu of, locking itself in position when you're manually setting the date. It does work perfectly while it hits midnight, it does switch over perfectly and locks the date ring into position, and that is a win as far as I'm concerned. Some of the other things that I discovered about this watch I'm going to show you in just a second. Setting the time. So when you pull this out to the second position, you can of course set the time. You've got the GMT indicator on there, so as we get closer to midnight, we will get our hands lined up to the 12 o'clock position, and you'll see there is a little play with that. And unfortunately, this movement's a little bit on the sloppy side. So really, there's just no way around it. However, I'm going to show you a little trick if you want to get to the correct time. And I believe right now it is almost 5 o'clock. So I'm going to get over to 4:57. And now if I push this into the first click, or the winding position, you see that hour hand moves, and you see how much play there is when I turn the crown. So for instance, if I set it at the 12 o'clock position, the minute hand at the 12 o'clock position, and I turn the crown maybe 20 degrees, the hands don't move at all. So there's a little sloppiness in the gears. When you set the time, if you're trying to get accurate time out of this, what I would suggest is, for instance, it's 4:58. I'm going to put that at 4:58. I'm just going to move it back about 5 degrees, and then I'll push the crown in, and that way the hand doesn't turn by itself. Otherwise, it'll sometimes slip a few minutes off position. So keep that in mind. Servicing this watch was generally a nightmare, and if you didn't watch that video, I encourage you to go back and watch it. It took a little bit of play to get it all back and reassembled. There's most ETA or Rolex or tag watches, the bridges are not one plate. They're actually separate bridges. You may have 3 or 4 bridges that hold all the gears in position, and that makes reassembly a dream. With this particular watch, because it's a full plate, you have to get every single gear in position and then tinker with them just a little bit to get that plate to seat well onto the case or the watch movement. One of the things the case comes with are gaskets, and now those look like decent gaskets. However, I did decide to change them all. And I would recommend that if you're going to get one of these watches to assemble yourself, that you at least use a little bit of gasket grease or some silicone on them. They stretch pretty easy and don't stretch back into position. So I use some good silicone gaskets to replace that with, and I've been very happy with the results of that. The bezel itself, it will turn in both directions. It does have a click. It's not a very strong click on that, but it does lock into place. You can feel it, and it holds up well. It's a heavy watch. This is a very heavy watch case and a watch band. Solid stainless steel. It is not 3/16 steel, but it is stainless, and it's holding up really good. The other thing I would suggest doing, if you can, change your spring bars, because the spring bars that this band comes with are a little bit on the cheap side, and a good set of spring bars that'll hold up to a lot of pulling and shoving and stretching are always something good to have. I hope you liked this review, guys, and if you did, I will put links to both the original article, the service video, and the assembly of a Chinese watch that I made for a customer up in the description below. And I would suggest that if you're interested in one of these, that you go check that out. Links for all of these on eBay are affiliate links, so I do make a couple little pennies every time somebody purchases one. I just want to let you know that. And if you're interested in getting those, all the parts will be listed both in the description below and on my website. I again hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're not a subscriber, would like to see more of my videos on jewelry making, and watch repair, check out my website, www.myjewelrybench.com. And I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.